Hello, welcome everyone. We're excited for today's analytics in action. We're going to be doing data analytics trivia. We're going to let everyone take a few minutes to get logged on, and then we will get started. We did not think of a fun question while we're waiting, though.
We thought of lots of fun questions. It's our trivia game.
Well, that's true. We're going to have a lot coming up, so maybe we don't need one right now. Any fun summer plans? I don't know if we've asked.
ASAE in Nashville. That's going to be pretty fun.
That's going to be exciting. We're having a big party. Details to come about that.
Excited. I'm flying to Chicago next week for a D2L Learning Symposium. That should be fun.
Awesome.
I was just in Baltimore earlier this week for K-Days, which is ACGI's event. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're just
conference season.
Jet setter, I know. Just got wrapped up MFCC.
It's been a lot of fun.
All right, I cannot see how many people are on right now for some reason. So
well, we can't say it out loud because then they'll all know how many they're competing against.
Well, let me know when you guys think we can get started. I can.
Let's give it 1 or 2 more minutes, let people get here. And if you're here and you're ready to do our trivia, you can do trivia. It's interactive. Obviously, you're going to be answering questions. You can do it from your browser or you can do it from your smartphone. I might recommend your smartphone. It's a pretty easy experience to just do it from there.
Yeah. All right, I did pull up the participants here. Got it. You can see. Oh, we got a healthy amount on now. All right.
So you're on mute.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. So we got 1 or 2 ringers in the group here. So.
We were talking about who was going to win, and I don't know. It's anybody's game. We've got some easy questions and some pretty hard ones in there.
I will make a disclaimer for the A2 folks that are on. You're disqualified from playing, but you can observe and have fun and answer in your head.
They think they can win.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Like I said, we're here for analytics trivia. Thought we'd do something kind of fun and different for a summer break, apart from our normal how-to series. So thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Katrina McAfee. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at A2. Your hosts, once the slide advances, Bill Conforti, our SVP of Strategy and Solutions, and Greg Pollock, VP of Sales. I'm pretty sure everyone on this list has been to lots of our how-to sessions, which is great. So you know these guys well. So this should be fun. So I'm going to turn it over to Greg to just do a quick agenda overview and who A2 is, and then we'll get started.
Awesome. So we're going to do a couple rounds of trivia here. We've got progressively harder and harder questions as they go. And then we've got our master's round, which is going to be some pretty tough questions there. Hopefully you've been following along the webinar series to get some of these. We're not only going to be asking and answering questions, but we're going to be talking about why those questions matter and how to put them in context, because analytics is all about putting our data in context. If you have any questions throughout, drop them in the chat. Love to see your comments about our questions as we go through it. And obviously at the end, we'll have a little follow-up and brief discussion and award some fabulous prizes.
All right.
Who is Association Analytics? You all know at this point, but just for historic purposes, we are a company solely focused on helping associations love their data. Everything from data cleanup to data governance to data quality, all the way through to visualizing your data and helping you make decisions. We provide integrations, data warehousing, and visualization tools to help you make the most out of your data. And by golly, we've been doing this for a long time now, and we think we're getting pretty good at it.
All right, now to the fun stuff. So rules and instructions. So in a minute here, after I go over this and the prizes, I will share my screen and Kahoot will pop up and you'll want to open it in your browser or mobile app. So it's kahoot.it. And then once that happens, it'll give you a pin and then you'll enter your name. We ask that you enter your first initial and last name. That way it's easier for us at the end when we have the first, second, and third place winners. We can identify you and be able to email you to get your information to send you the prizes. So the questions, there's about, what did we say, Bill? I think like 16 questions. They will appear on the screen for 10 to 20 seconds, depending kind of how hard they are. There may be a quick explanation before them kind of set up that Greg and Bill will review before we ask the question. Points in Kahoot are given for correct answers and how quickly you answer. So if everyone answers it correctly, whoever answered it the quickest will get the most points. So you want to think about that. And then, like Greg mentioned, we'll chat about each answer after it's revealed. And not that you'd really have time for Google cheating with the 10 to 20 seconds, but I just wanted to mention that. I don't think any of you would do that, or that you're going to need to.
If you have extra time, yeah, just go in the chat site. So there's not a huge group here, and but there should be plenty of time for discussion as well. So be curious to hear your feedback on the actual questions at the end, and if you have any ideas for for future questions, we'll probably do this again at some point. Then that'll be interesting as well.
Yeah. And for the prizes, so first place winner takes home $25 Amazon gift card for the Love of Data t-shirt that we all have on, a coffee mug, and a water bottle. You see the screenshot here. The coffee mugs are pretty cool. Second and third place will also get a coffee mug. And then again, the reason we're asking you to put your first initial last name is you register for the webinar, I'll have your email, I'll reach out to these winners to get your shipping information to send those along to you. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing this and we're going to pull up Kahoot. So everyone get ready.
This would be a good happy hour.
Yes.
Webinar. We should,
yeah, that's true.
When we first started the webinars, this was back in early COVID days. They were virtual happy hours, so where we talked about some analytic stuff, and it kind of was a popular thing. So we, data. There you go, data analytics and beer. That's right, our two favorite things, right? Yeah. So
your
this
minds are full and your cups are empty.
That's right. That's right. All right.
You guys see my screen?
We do, and we hear the sweet music.
Yes, it does have some fun music. Okay, so everyone, you'll want to go to kahoot.it. You can scan the QR code. You can go to the app. And then when you do that, you will see a space to enter your PIN. So enter your either first name, last initial, or first initial, last name. Be able to figure that out pretty easily. And then we'll keep an eye on. We want everyone in here before we get started. Make sure I don't see any A2 employees in here.
So we've been using Kahoot for a while. We do a lot of internal Kahoots for trivia and games and stuff internally. So if you haven't done it, it's a pretty easy platform to use. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
I think some people are not playing.
Get more people in here.
You're gonna miss out.
What about Keith? Are you gonna play Keith? He's in here. Just kidding. Let's see. Mike Tobin, is he in here? And Neil. And then Tiffany Streets. I think there's 3 that we're missing, so I'll just give it another 2 seconds. There we go. It's Mike. We're waiting on 2 more. Give it a few more seconds. And then once we get started, you can't add yourself to afterwards. So that's why we want to wait and make sure everyone's on that wants to participate. All right, last call for Neil is on. Sorry. And then I think Tiffany Streets Nagara. Last call. All right, you guys ready?
Let's do it. Here we go.
All right. Let's do it. Okay, your faces were covering the start button for me. I had to move you to my other screen. All right.
Round 1.
Let the games begin.
May the odds be ever in your favor. Which BI and analytics platform is the undisputed leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant?
Power BI. All right, most of you got that one correct.
Had some people that said Tableau.
See the leaderboard. Oh, Evan, that's a shocker.
Evan jumping out to an early lead. All right, yeah. So this one just came out here in 2022. The distance between Power BI and Tableau there, that's the next one down where it says Salesforce. It's actually getting a little bit bigger year over year. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, this is, Acumen was one of the choices. We threw that in there just to be funny, but our product Acumen is built based on Power BI. That's how all of our visualizations are built. And that's for exactly this reason, right? They're definitely the leader, spending the most money, even more than Salesforce, I believe, in terms of R&D on the analytics piece. So if you're thinking about getting started in analytics, this is a good choice, right? There's free, you can get started even for free. It's the licenses very often come with your Office 365. And so this is a good choice for any association getting started in analytics. So, all right.
All right, next question.
According to Gartner, what are the 3 V's of big data?
These hurt my eyes to read
A lot of V's there.
all the V's.
This is a tough one.
All right,
All right. So
Not so
volume,
tough, apparently.
we're correct.
velocity, and variety. A lot of people throw around the word big data to mean lots of different things, but Gartner actually defines it for us. And those are the 3 V's of big data, right? So we've got to have high volume, lots and lots of different things. We've got to have high velocity. Those things are changing on a regular basis, and a variety of things we want to measure, not just one specific thing. So the next time somebody says, oh, we're working with big data, are they really? Is this actually big data? Do you actually have these 3 V's, or are you just talking about a hard drive with lots of videos on it?
All right, next up. All right, so this is a fill in the blank. What type of analytics is the type concerned mainly with what has happened and is the focus of traditional BI and reporting? All right. It's pretty good. Let's see who's in the lead. Still Evan, Kristen right behind. It's exciting.
All right. Yes, I was surprised that we didn't get, a little bit more variance in the answers on this one. So this is a diagram you've seen from us a few times over the last couple of years in our various webinars, but there are 4 levels or 4 types of analytics. Kind of at the bottom is descriptive. So that's concerned with what has happened and, and what's happening right now. So this is your traditional BI or your reports. So if you add this element of data exploration to that, then you get to diagnostics. That's kind of like, why is it happening, right? So we talk about this, we know that our events revenues are down, but why is that, right? And we start to drill in and figure out those things. So those are diagnostic analytics. Predictive is when we're trying to use our historical data to determine what's going to happen in the future. And then at the very top is prescriptive. Most of us are not there yet. This is kind of like where your analytics are actually determining what actions you're going to take, right? So it's not just giving you the insight to make the decision, but it's kind of automating that piece and helping you to make that decision. So that's kind of the future state, right, for a lot of us that are listening now. So descriptive analytics, concerned with what has happened.
Awesome. All right, let's see if we can knock Evan out with this next one.
Hey, one sec. Before we go on to the next question, if anyone is kind of doing anything, I think most of us are kind of in the descriptive analytics phase right now. If anyone is experimenting with predictive, or at least doing some exploration and doing the diagnostic analytics. That would be interesting to hear about. If you can tell us about it and not distract too much from answering the next question, that is.
Tell us about it later.
I was just reading through the chat. Apparently, our CEO said we can go grab a beer. It's 3 o'clock. Just letting everyone know.
Round 2.
Round 2.
It's going to get harder.
Yeah, this has some setup, so I'll let Bill.
Okay, so this lady here is conducting a survey. In case you can't tell that from the question, but here's a question that you might encounter on a survey. It has a Likert style range of answers. And it says, our association uses surveys effectively to gather data, not to gather data and take action. Okay, so let's think about that question. I mean, that survey question as we go to the actual trivia question. All right, so this is an example of a blank question, which is a common mistake for survey designers.
Oh,
Got him.
got him.
Yes. This is an example of a double barrel question. And we used this question in our survey we did. And when we were presenting the results in Power BI, we talked about a double barrel question, that it's not just one of the criteria has to be met, it has to be both sides of that criteria, right? And normally when you write a survey, you're asking questions, you want to avoid things like double barrel questions, but we were extra tricky in our webinar and we wanted to ask a double barrel question because we didn't want you to just have part A. We wanted to say you have to have part A and part B to be able to say yes to this, right? I'm not just a member of the association, I also see great benefits for my membership. So when you build your survey questions, we talked about adding, and some of the answers were tricky here. We talked about adding extra criteria there to sort of sharpen your answer. We talked about, can you lead people in the direction you want with your questions and answers? And this was an example of a question we used called a double barrel question. Got him.
Yep. So let me just add a few things onto that. So generally speaking, this is not something you want to do. And so we didn't actually do it on purpose, but we left it in there on purpose and we've kind of justified it by, in this case. So if you think about the question, use surveys effectively to gather data and take action. So it's like, well, what if I gather data effectively, but I don't take action, right? And so it's like, what if I like the product, but I don't like the customer service that goes along with it, right? If you combine those things in the question, then it's difficult to get a clear response. So we left it in for two reasons. One, so we could talk about this as a common mistake that survey designers make, but also because we felt that in this particular case, that using surveys effectively required you to do both of those things. So it wasn't necessarily like two unrelated things that you're asking about. And so if you're writing a survey question and you find yourself using the word and, like, how do you feel about this and that? You know, it's almost always going to be, almost going to be a double-barreled question. So you have to think through the possible answers and make sure that the results are going to be clear and actionable. All right, there we go. First time we stumped them. Good work.
Evan made a comment in the chat about your last question, Bill. You wanted to take a look at that. They're working on diagnostic and predictive models around member engagement.
Awesome. Yeah, we need to talk about engagement, Evan. I remember we were supposed to do that some time ago and not done it yet. Let's make that happen.
All right, on to the next.
Softball here.
Yeah, it's the easy one. Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of stacked, but you guys will explain the differences. Let's see, Evan's still in the lead. Kristen is getting closer though.
All right, so look, this is interesting. So a lot of people said ribbon chart, which is the correct answer, and a lot of people said stacked column chart, which is technically not correct, but it's really close. So if we look at the top there, the first one on the left is called an area chart, right? And so we look at, we look at the trend over time of multiple different variables at once. In the one on the right, that's a stacked column chart. So we're essentially doing the same thing, but I'm doing it in column format. Now, the one on the bottom is called a ribbon chart, and the ribbon chart adds the element of sorting them according to size, so that the variable that contributes the most to the overall total is always at the top. And so because of that, you see that at certain points, the colors sort of change places, right? So these ribbons sort of cross over each other, and that's because one element became larger than the other in that month. So if you did this over time, each column would be a month, and the relative values of each would be stacked, from largest down to smallest at the bottom of the column. And then ribbon charts also just connect it all together so that it looks like ribbons, right? But ribbon is a close cousin of the stacked column chart. So for those of you that said that, you were very close. It's a bit of a technicality, honestly.
Before we move on, I think one of the reasons I really like this question, and being new to analytics, this is something I learned, is the type of chart you pick speaks volumes about the type of data you're trying to explain, right? The same data can be laid out in multiple types of visualizations, but the one you pick is really determined by how that question is supposed to explain something to the end user. And when we get really into analytics, the business analyst who built the visualization may not even be there when the end user is looking at this, the business user saying, how do I understand what this data is telling me? So picking the right type of visualization is key to allowing our user to really get the insights you're hoping for. You could lay the same data out multiple ways, and that person might come to different conclusions, or they might pick out different types of insights. So be very careful with the type of visualization you pick. There's a whole library of them out there for you to choose from. Each one might have a different purpose or might articulate data in a different way.
All righty. Next one, main difference between a data lake and a data warehouse.
I think we'll stump some more people with this one.
All right, I feel like that's the most correct so far.
Didn't stump too many.
I thought Kristen was going to go ahead. All right.
Yeah, so look, I mean, all of those were correct to a degree. I mean, there might very well be different types of data. The users could very often be different, right? So maybe the data lake is more for your analysts or your data scientists. Your data warehouse may be for your business staff. The volume, could also be different, right? I mean, a lot of people think of data lakes as something that is something that's for massive amounts of this of unstructured data, which it is. But data warehouses can also be huge. So volume is not necessarily different between the two, but data structure is, right? And so with the data lake, you have data in the raw format, the native format raw data, and in the warehouse, you have data there's a standardized model. The data's been processed, it's been categorized, and it's been modeled, to fit that. And so, with the data lake, you have the schema on read, which means the schema is applied when you pull the data out of the data lake. And on the warehouse, you have the schema on write, which means when you write the data into the warehouse, you have to do all this wrangling and all this manipulation in order to do that. So it's more difficult to get in, but in some ways it's easier to get out. And that's why you kind of see that for a lot of your critical business data. So main difference between data lake and data warehouse is the structure of what's contained inside.
I thought that was a really important question. Bill and I have hundreds of conversations with different levels of people who understand different levels of this technology. And on a regular basis, people tell me, oh, we're building a data lake for this purpose. Like, I think the data warehouse would be better for that. Or we've got a data warehouse and we do this with it. I think the lake would be more appropriate for that. But I think understanding the types of tools you have out there in your toolkit and what they're good at or what they're bad at is really important for providing the right solution to your end users, right? If we're analyzing lots of unstructured data, we're not exactly sure what we're going to be doing with that data. Maybe the lake's the right purpose for it. We want to be more agile, just get that data in there and we'll figure it out later. But if we've got a business and it's fairly standardized and we know what we're going to be doing with the data and we're going to be doing it on a regular basis, why not move to that warehouse model? Might be a little bit more effort on the front end, but in the long term, it might serve us better for what we're using it for. So good to know the differences and be able to prescribe which one is right based on the solution you're looking for, or maybe some sort of hybrid solution where you have both of them connected to each other, interplaying based on the type of utilization you're having that day.
Yeah, Evans raised a good point in the chat. So there are technologies out there that you can go and buy and spend a lot of money on, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy like this. I mean, essentially it's an unstructured SQL database. So you can, there are ways to do that without spending a lot. In Acumen, the data lake is essentially a staging area in Amazon S3. So it's a very inexpensive way of doing that. And it works really well in a hybrid type environment.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, on to the next. I think this requires some
Greg, what the heck are we looking at here? This one's going to need some explanation.
This one's going to require
Tableau
some
fans will probably know this one.
Explanation and squinting. And yeah, if you're a Tableau fan, you've probably seen this before. We borrowed this from one of their blogs about the most important visualization engine. So I'll give you the setup and then we'll get to the question here. This is a visualization put together by Florence Nightingale. We might all know the name, but she was a nurse and a data analyst and a rock star. And we're visualizing data here related to the Crimean War. So put yourself in the 1850s. Bunch of weird European organizations are fighting Russia. Can't imagine that ever happening. And lots of people are dying. And we wanted to see how do we minimize mortality within the combat. Each one of these slices is going to be over time. So we've got June, July, August, September, et cetera, et cetera. And the different colors equal the different ways people are dying. So we see the red is, I got shot on the battlefield, a cannon hit me or something, right? I'm dead. Not a whole lot you can do about that. The black is other causes that weren't preventable, but that green, it's hard to see green, I guess 200 years ago it was green. The green is preventable diseases, things that there were cures for, things that, a nurse like Florence Nightingale might be able to affect. And we're going to get to the question, and then we're going to circle back on why this was so important. So what's the question we're asking about this visualization? All right, so what action was famously taken using this early visualization? What did they do about this data now that they were able to see this? Boom, everybody got it, right? And hold on a second, because I want to talk about why this answer is so important for us. So improving sanitation in the camps and hospitals is key. Now, put yourself back in the 1850s, right? You're a general in the army leading an attack. And some nurse comes up to you that you've maybe met before, but doesn't have a whole lot of influence. And she says, we got to spend lots of money on our camps. Our sanitation's bad. We got to put more hospitals in. And you're talking with the other generals and you're like, I think we should buy more cannons. We need more bullets, right? We need more ammunition. We need to get more troops here as quick as we can. We got a better strategy to fight the war. And you're like, no, that's good. Now put yourself in the shoes of your business today. How many times have you gone to senior leadership and said, I think this is what we need to do. I feel like this is the right direction. We need to move here. Listen to me. My voice needs to be heard. And your voice isn't heard, right? Florence Nightingale smartly said, in order to convince these people that I have the right answer, I need to be able to visualize this. I need them to draw their own conclusion. And I think this is one of the keys about analytics and visualizing the data is it's not just you telling the decision maker or the person interpreting the data what to do. They're coming to that conclusion themselves. When you look at this visualization, you immediately go, oh, it's this big green area. How do we impact that? I need more healthy troops to be able to fight the battle. And if they're being taken out of the battle, they're dying from preventable things, that's easily where we should invest our money, where we should spend our time. So to me, this speaks to the power of visualizations in influencing others and in the decision-making process. You couldn't just tell the generals what was going on. You probably couldn't even show them an Excel spreadsheet. Not that they had Excel, right? We get some fancy leisure back in the day. right? That wouldn't articulate the problem in the same way as visualizing it. It's so like obvious on the front end. A really great visualization, in my opinion, just hits you when you go, obviously, this is what we need to do. And this visualization was an obvious for me.
All right. Yeah, can you jump to the next one, Katrina?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, well, this will say.
We get our leaderboard to add up here.
Evan's still at the top. All right. What type of data deals with attitudes, opinions, and interests? It should be a quick one.
people are thinking about this one.
Nope, maybe we should have made it longer.
Ooh.
All right.
All right. So kind of all over the place on this one. So
Barb moving up.
did somebody make a big jump there?
Yeah, Barb did.
Okay, so yes, we said, so the choices were unstructured, contextual, psychographic, which was the correct answer, or demographic. So demographics are, the things that we're kind of most familiar with. Those are all the dimensions that you slice and dice your data by in your warehouse or even in your AMS. Your behavioral data are things that talk about your behavior, the things that you download, the websites that you visit, like the purchases that you make, etc. I'm going to skip over to contextual, right? Because we're just kind of getting out to one of the major contextual events ever, right? COVID, of course, was something that was an external kind of environmental factor that colored all of your data and kind of really put an asterisk on all the different analyses that you would try to do. And psychographic is maybe the most interesting, right? That's your attitudes, that's your interests. Those are all the things that you infer, from the data, that you have on your demographics and your behaviors. And it's also things that you ask in surveys and your sentiment analysis, right? You get your satisfaction or NPS and all those kinds of things speak to psychographics, and the, marketing people in particular, and, in any sort of retail or subscription or member-based type organizations, the name of the game is to augment your behavioral and your demographic data with psychographics for really stronger segments. So, and then we had unstructured, which was just kind of thrown in there. Psychographic data may be unstructured, it may not. So if you ask me on a survey, do I like this, yes or no, or how do I feel? And you give me 5 checkboxes, that can obviously be structured data. But if you, if you record my call to the customer service, that unstructured data, or, I type in things in your chat, then that's going to be an example of unstructured, but getting at, psychographic type qualities. All right.
All right, awesome. Let's go to the next. Machine learning, the 2 fundamental types of learning are blank and blank. 2 fill in the blanks. This one's a little longer time to answer. Ooh, that was faster than I thought.
Wow.
Yeah. See if Barb keeps moving.
Oh!
Kristen is on fire.
Oh, Evan, better watch out.
All right. Yeah, so what do we, I feel like, maybe we should just skip over this when everybody knows what we're talking about here. So, so the 2 types, broadly speaking, are supervised and unsupervised. Most of the time, we're dealing with supervised, right? So supervised has 2 different types. There's classification and there are regressions. And so essentially, what a classification means, or what a supervised learning means, is that we have standard inputs, and then we have expected responses, right? So very commonly in our case, we're using these standard inputs, and we're classifying all of your members into renews and non-renews, right? We're predicting whether they're going to renew or not. But it could also be, do they fall into the red shirts or the green shirt type category. If we're looking at regression, that's more like we're trying to come up with a specific value. So it's like, what is my revenue going to be what's the forecast for my revenue going to be, or what's some amount like a weight or a dollar amount, something like that. Unsupervised is, we really don't know. We kind of like, put all the data in and we see how we see what groups are formed. So it's really about grouping the inputs because we really don't know what the outputs are going to be. And so the good example of that is clustering. And you guys have heard us talk about cluster analysis before. I don't think many associations are doing this now, but I see this as something that can be useful for building personas, right? Because we've all been through the exercise, the marketing exercise, where we build personas based on our knowledge, our anecdotal experience with customers, but we're answering a lot of other questions in a data-informed way. So if we can bring some of that same kind of approach to developing our personas, and we can target them a lot more effectively. All right.
Evan's got jokes in the chat. All right.
All right.
All right, we're on to the bonus round.
It's going to get even harder now.
It'd be helpful if you've attended our sessions.
We thought seriously about doubling the weight for these, but
We did. Bill wouldn't let me.
What breakfast food is associated with a lightweight data governance framework? So if you got to attend our fun data governance framework, you'll know the answer. There you go.
Let's see. Kristen stays on top. Oh.
Ah,
She was reading that really long email. That's what happened.
all right. So what's the answer? It's waffles, right?
Waffle.
Why did we go with waffles? Well, we didn't want any thick, heavy syrup in our life. We wanted that lightweight, easy to eat stuff. And the reason we wanted to talk about waffles was we think data governance doesn't have to be a 5-year, 100,000 man-hour project that never gets finished. We think that data governance can be achieved pretty quickly, right? If you stick to our framework and you say, listen, we want to get some easy, quick wins. We want to do this fast. We want to really focus on the most important outcomes related to data governance. And we want to make it easy for our team members to be able to do this. You can do data governance in not too long. And actually, I didn't think we would be able to pull it off, but we did. We did an entire data governance project in about an hour, breaking up into different teams, talking about what we needed to do. We had lots of lessons learned. At the end of it, we came up with a document. We published it. Everybody learned what the most important things were for us. And you can watch it on the webinar. It was actually pretty fun to do. My group, we learned a lot about what's important for your association, right? We had some pretty good disagreements. One guy said we should keep the data forever. Another person said we should get rid of the data immediately. And they both had really good reasons why that was relevant for their association. So why do you need to do data governance? Why can't I just use that off-the-shelf guide that someone else wrote for us? Is because data governance is personal about how your organization plans on capturing and using your data, but it doesn't have to be a huge heavy lift. It can be something pretty easy and lightweight that you can do in a couple of hours or a couple of weeks. Doesn't need to take a couple of years. Waffles.
All right. Awesome. Now I'm hungry. Each of these is not one of the
softball.
5 Ps. Yep.
Bill has snuck this slide into so many webinars we've done. So if you've been on any of our webinars and you've heard him talk about the P's of data governance, you should know the answers.
All right, almost everyone. Let's see what the leaderboard does. All right, people moving around. Let's talk.
All right. People, process, priorities, policy, and plan. Those are the 5 Ps. Yeah, this slide's been hanging around for a long time. Still like this one though. Down in the corner there's the ultimate guide to data governance for associations. That one's available from our website if you're just getting started with this stuff. So encourage you to take a look at that. Production, really nothing to do with data governance. It was just the first P word that came to my head. So
Moving on. Best way to measure excuse me, understand member engagement is blank.
It's a tough one. I think we'll get some more people stumped on this one.
Yeah. So we should have put maybe preface. Well, look at it says good choices there, right? Somebody chose every one of the options there. So maybe should have prefaced this question by according to A2, the best way to understand member engagement is. However, again, this is the how-to masters part of the discussion here. So this is a slide you've seen several times as well. And so the best way to understand engagement is an exchange of value. And the reason we say that is, yes, you're counting activities and you're producing scores, but the goal of counting those activities and that score for engagement purposes is to find that sweet spot, between the value that the association gets from the relationship and that the member perceives from that association, because that puts them in a place of appreciating the mission, focusing on value versus, trying to get the cheapest price for everything. They become advocates, and in the process of doing that, they also, spend time as volunteers. Maybe they donate. They also become your top spenders, right? So it's you can have, and every association does have, a lot of people that renew their membership year over year, but they're just not engaged. And it's fine to have those. They're good for the bottom line to a degree, but the future of the association really depends on having those really connected individuals, and you can only get that if they really appreciate the value. So exchange of value.
This can be key for so many. I've been talking with bar associations and some mandatory bar associations, and their board is saying maybe we shouldn't be mandatory anymore. And they're all freaking out because if it's not mandatory and people have been, on the auto renew because it's required side for so long, we've got to get those people engaged before it's too late. So regardless of how your membership works, if it's professional, if it's required, if it's trade, I think engagement scoring should be the #1 metric that drives associations. We often get people tell us, isn't retention and engagement scoring the same thing? And maybe they're correlated, but there's probably a lot of people who renew every year and don't engage with you in meaningful ways, right? And at the same time, we probably have these bargain hunters out there who on the periphery sort of just pick and choose how they want to participate with us. But if they're not fully engaged with us, they're not really giving back to the association. So we're not getting the benefits either, right? So that exchange of value is, associations don't work if the members don't participate. Our data governance webinar wouldn't have worked if you all didn't participate. Trivia doesn't happen unless you all are out there answering questions as well. And it doesn't happen unless we put together the questions. So that exchange of value is really where we see the sweet spot of the member benefits and the association benefits are aligning. And I think that should be the #1 success metric on how we're doing.
All right, next up, I'm going to show you an equation to let us know what's missing.
Speaking about retention rate, right? We talked about how to calculate retention rate. This might have been last summer. And we defined a pretty simple formula. We said retention rate is the number of renewed over top of what? What? Renewal pool. Oh, big changes here.
Yeah.
Where? Love it.
All right, Keith, checking in.
5 correct answers in a row. So this concept of a pool we talked about on our webinar, and we said retention rate is a pretty easy calculation, except for that renewal pool, right? This is the thing we often see people get wrong. So the renewal pool is who should be renewing that specific time period. And we said there's a lot of people you should exclude from the renewal pool, right? People who are members for life, people who joined for the first time and haven't come up for renewal yet. And we talked about how to identify who's in or who's out of the pool. And we said that's the most important thing about calculating retention rate. We go back to some horror stories of my retention rate is 105% because we got a lot of new people to join this year. It's not your retention rate, right? We talk about, hey, we've got a really good retention rate because we've got all these lifetime members who don't need to renew. We throw them in the pool as well, and it makes us feel good about a retention rate, and that doesn't count either. So accurately and consistently right? Calculating your retention rate is key to being able to improve it over time. Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, Kristen. All right, I guess she's not going to be the winner. All right.
To the following is not used when calculating engagement score. So going back to engagement score, we said when you calculate your engagement score, you should use the following. That's it. Yeah. Got it.
All right. Let's see if things move around. He's still ahead of Evan.
Hey,
So we said when you calculate your engagement score, first of all, we said you should calculate it, not assign the points, right? We said when you're doing this, you should think about counts, amounts, and rates. And I've still challenged people to stump me. If you can come up with something that should be a part of your engagement score, you can't boil down into a count, an amount, and rate, I'll be excited. But so far, no one's come up with anything. So I want to count things. How many meetings have you attended? I want to see the amount of things. How much have you spent? And I want to look at the rate of things like your open and click rate. I've gotten asked a bunch of questions so far. What about membership? That's a yes or a no. Can't we include that? I'll get to dates. So we'll do dates in a second. So, how many years have you been a member? That would be the count. Somebody asked me about certifications. And I said, well, how many credits have you taken? That would be a count. So if we're looking at dates of something, we might want to say how long since that occurred, right? How many days or months have passed since that date occurred? And we might want to use decay on that as well. So I think you can boil down any type of engagement that has a date on it into one of these. And then I think you can let our concept of decay take that date and say it's worth less and less the further it goes back in time.
Yep. Yeah. So for date related things, we generally summarize things by the month. And so it would be the number of either consecutive months or the number of total months of X, right? So this is the number of months I've been a member. This is the number of months I've been on that committee, something like that. And for those types of things, you would not decay it, right? But if it's how many months has it been since I attended a meeting, right? Then you decay that because that's something that becomes worth less over time.
Just looking at the clock, we got 5 questions and a couple minutes, so we gotta.
Yeah, these are really fast.
Oh, this is some easy ones.
Yeah.
Greg's favorite hobby. This is a tough one. This is definitely a tough one. I do love gaming, and I do like collecting rare coins.
Close second.
It's clearly racing cars. And we've used this on webinars in a couple ways. One is we want to understand how to best market to people, right? When we build personas, we learn that Greg has a race car and Bill has a Volvo, and we might want to treat them differently when we send marketing calls to action. So understanding people and what their interests are is a key part of analytics, because it's going to help us go back to our post earlier about marketing. It's going to help us better create personas, better market to people, better target them. And that's my fancy race car right there.
All right, last question.
Yeah, last question.
Oh, is it?
And I don't know if you saw the leaderboard, but I'm pretty sure Evan was 29 points behind Keith. So it's a race
All right.
for
This
first.
could be anybody's game.
Okay. Bill's New Year's resolution. Guitar. How's that
Ooh.
going, Bill?
Not going well. I remember the discussion about how we make things sticky, right? How we make them so we don't sort of lose interest, and we have to have quick wins, and we have to have these catalysts that decrease the momentum required to maintain things. And I'm a little disappointed to admit that I haven't done a very good job of those things when it comes to guitar. I was good through about early March, and since then I haven't practiced much at all. So I think I'm pretty much back at square one, but I'm still pretty confident that I can reach that by year's end. So
You're in the valley of disillusionment.
Well, you better. We talked about that.
the trough of disillusionment. Yeah.
I need to see it. Hit the button. Let's find out.
All right, well, so this next slide, before we go to the results, this is our next webinar coming up. So we're doing a webinar in partnership with Mighty Citizen about taking charge of your content. I'm going to throw the link in the chat if you want to check that out and sign up. And then drum roll.
That was tricky how you put that in before the results here. I like that.
Yeah, it's marketing. All right, drum roll. Podium. Third place, Kristen. She's not even here. Evan. He beat you. That's exciting. I'm gonna check a screenshot of this so I don't forget.
Congratulations.
Got runners up down there. So
All right, Neil and Barbara.
Keith, I will reach out, and Evan. I think I have Evan and Kristen's addresses already, but I'll reach out with to everyone, get that stuff shipped out to you. And thank you for playing. Do we want to have any questions, any chatter about any of the
Yeah, let us know if you guys if you liked it. We didn't summertime and all, didn't get as many players as we would have hoped, to be honest about it, but let us know if you like that, if we should do it again. If you have any suggestions on questions or topics that you think are top of mind for your peers, that would be really good to incorporate in the next version. So yeah, congratulations on all of our winners, and thank you all so much for playing. It was fun.
Hopefully you all had fun today. And one of the reasons we wanted to do this was analytics on the surface might sound pretty wonky and math heavy and not fun for everybody, but we want everybody to know that analytics can be fun. It should be fun when you're doing it right. It should give you insights. It should be something that drives your business strategy forward. And hopefully today you not only had fun, but you got insights, you learned a little something, you learned more about your competitors here, and you had a lot of fun doing it. And hopefully analytics is the same for you. It's fun. You learn something that helps drive your business and your business strategy. And it's something people want to be a part of. And I thank every one of you for joining us today. We had a lot of fun putting the questions together and running it. Hopefully you had as much fun taking a break from your busy day to join us for some analytics trivia.
All right, thanks everyone for coming. That was super fun. I'll reach out to the winners, so stay tuned, and hopefully we'll see you on that Mighty Citizen webinar.
Dashboard scavenger. I like this.
Dashboard. Oh, that's a good idea. Evan, you're going to help us plan that though, so since you brought it up. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your week.